My child, stop begging for what I have already released. Stop crying as though heaven is still deciding your future. Stop sitting in fear as though I have forgotten your name. I need you to hear me carefully, because what I am about to reveal to you will change the way you see this entire season of your life. Before your tears even touch the ground, I already moved on your behalf. Before your voice finished calling my name in the middle of the night, I already commanded doors to open for you. Before your heart broke under the pressure of waiting, I already prepared the answer you have been praying for. You have spent so long asking me if I heard you, but now I am asking you a question in return. Will you finally trust that I was working even in the silence? This message is not appearing before you by accident. I brought you here because your spirit was becoming tired from carrying battles you were never meant to carry alone. I watched you trying to stay strong while secretly wondering if anything would ever change. I saw you smiling in front of people while silently fighting tears behind closed doors. I heard the prayers you could not even finish because exhaustion consumed your soul. I saw every moment you questioned whether your breakthrough would ever come. But my beloved child, listen to me now with all your heart. The wait is over. The miracle is no longer far away. It is already moving toward you faster than you realize. You keep asking me for signs while ignoring the fact that I have already been surrounding you with them. That sudden peace you felt after another painful night was me. That unexpected strength that kept you going when you should have collapsed was me. That closed door you cried over was me, protecting you from what would have destroyed your peace later. You thought heaven was silent because nothing was happening, but heaven was silent because I was building something too important to be interrupted. There were battles happening around you that your eyes could not see. There were attacks I blocked before they ever reached your life. There were moments when the enemy believed he had finally broken you, but I stepped in before the final blow could land. I refused to let you fall apart because your story was never supposed to end in defeat. My child, I know how tired you are of waiting. I know you have reached moments where your faith felt weak and your prayers felt empty. There were nights when you stared at the ceiling asking me why everybody else seemed to move forward while your life felt stuck in the same painful cycle. You compared your journey to others and secretly wondered if I skipped over your name. You tried to stay hopeful, but disappointment kept attacking your mind. You kept hearing promises in your spirit, but your reality looked completely different. And slowly, without even realizing it, you started begging me for things I had already decided to give you. But hear me now. I am not delaying your blessing to punish you. I was preparing you to carry what you prayed for. If I had opened these doors too early, your pain would have followed you into places meant for peace. If I had answered too soon, you would have entered your next season with the same fear, the same insecurity, and the same wounds that almost destroyed you in the last one. I needed to heal parts of your heart that nobody else could see. I needed to strengthen your spirit so you would stop depending on human approval to feel valuable. I needed you to understand that the breakthrough was never your source. I am your source. The miracle is only proof of my faithfulness. Do not skip what I am saying to you right now, because this is the confirmation you have been asking for. I know there were moments when you almost gave up completely. I know there were times when you said, maybe this will never happen for me. I know there were moments when disappointment sat so heavily on your chest that even praying became difficult. But even during those moments, I never stopped working. While you cried, I moved people into position. While you doubted, I prepared opportunities you cannot yet imagine. While you questioned your worth, I was already speaking your name in rooms you have not entered yet. Everything is shifting now, and you can feel it deep inside your spirit. The heaviness does not feel the same anymore because this season is changing. My beloved child, stop looking at your life through the eyes of fear. Stop speaking as though your story ends in lack and disappointment. I did not carry you through all those painful nights just to abandon you at the edge of your breakthrough. I did not protect you from everything that tried to destroy you only to leave you empty now. You survive it too much to believe I would fail you at the end. The enemy wanted your faith to die in the waiting season. You wanted exhaustion to silence your prayers. You wanted disappointment to convince you that nothing would ever change. But you are still here. You are still breathing. You are still listening to my voice right now. And that alone should tell you that I am not finished with your life. Type Amen. Jesus is King forever if your heart crowns Him Lord of all. There is a reason this message is touching your spirit so deeply. It is because your soul recognizes my voice. Deep inside you already knows something is changing. You already feel the shift happening around you. The season of endless begging is ending. The season of desperate crying is ending. The season of watching doors close in your face is ending. I am bringing you into a season where peace will replace panic, where clarity will replace confusion, where confidence will replace fear, and where joy will replace the heaviness you carried for far too long. Do not return to the old mindset after hearing this message. Stop waking up expecting disappointment. Stop speaking defeat over your future. Stop assuming every delay means rejection. You have no idea how close you are to the moment that will make everything finally make sense. One conversation can change your future. One opportunity can restore years of loss. One moment of my favor can open doors that human effort could never open. I am not limited by what looks impossible to you. I am the God who creates rivers in deserts and opens paths where none exist. Your situation is not too broken for me. Your life is not too late for me. Your prayers were never ignored by me. Listen carefully because I need these words to settle deep inside your spirit. Before you finished crying, I finished working. Before you reached the end of your strength, I've already decided how this story would turn out. The answer is here. The breakthrough is here. The peace is here. The door is open now. Stop begging outside the very place I already invited you into. Stand up in faith. Lift your eyes again. Breathe again. Hope again. Trust me again. I know the road was painful, but I also know the blessing waiting ahead of you is greater than the suffering behind you. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. You are mine. I have carried you this far because I fully intend to finish what I started in your life. The tears were not wasted. The delay was not meaningless. The silence was not empty. Everything was preparing you for this moment right here. And now I am telling you clearly, the wait is over. Walk through the door I opened for you. Stop begging for permission to receive what I already released from heaven. A miracle is sealed. The answer is standing before you. And now trust me enough to step forward and receive it. My beloved child, I saw every tear before it ever touched your face. I watched the pain building inside your heart long before anyone around you noticed something was wrong. Even when you stayed silent, even when you pretended to be strong, even when you smiled just to stop people from asking questions, I still saw through every mask you wore. Nothing about your suffering was hidden from me. I heard the trembling in your voice during those late-night prayers when you tried so hard not to break down completely. I saw the moments when your heart felt exhausted from carrying disappointment after disappointment. And I need you to understand this now. Not 1 second of your pain escaped my attention. You believed you were fighting alone because you could not see my hands moving around you. There were nights when you laid awake asking why your life felt so heavy, while everybody else seemed to move forward with ease. You watched others receive answers while your prayers appeared trapped in silence. You tried to remain faithful, but secretly your spirit was becoming tired. You kept asking me the same painful question over and over again. Lord, when will it finally be my turn, my child? I heard every word. I heard the prayers you spoke loudly, and I heard the cries you buried deep inside because you were afraid to admit how broken you truly felt. There were moments when you thought nobody cared about what you were carrying. People saw your outside appearance, but they did not see the war happening inside your mind. They did not see the pressure sitting on your chest every morning when you opened your eyes. They did not see how hard it became for you to keep hoping after so many disappointments. Some days you were emotionally exhausted before the day even began. You became tired of pretending you were okay. Tired of waiting for things to change. Tired of hearing promises while your reality stayed painful. But even during those moments when your faith felt weak, I stayed beside you. Please support our channel. Our work is to bring happiness in your life and devotion to God. And if you want, you can donate to us given link in description or pinned comment to show your support. My child, there were things attacking your life that you never fully understood. The enemy wanted you isolated because isolation makes pain feel louder. He wanted you convinced that heaven abandoned you. You wanted disappointment to become your identity. Every delay was supposed to weaken your trust in me. Every closed door was supposed to make you believe you were forgotten. Every betrayal was supposed to harden your heart until you stopped expecting goodness from life. But I protected you even when you did not realize it. I covered your mind when anxiety tried to consume you completely. I kept your spirit alive during seasons that should have destroyed your ability to hope again. You remember those moments when you cried until you had no strength left. Moments when your body felt physically heavy because emotional pain drained everything inside you. Moments when you begged me for just one sign that things would eventually improve. You wondered if your tears mattered at all. Listen to me carefully now. Every tear mattered. Every tear became a prayer before it even left your eyes. I collected every moment of pain you experienced in silence. I never mocked your weakness. I never grew impatient with your questions. I never became frustrated by your fear. I stayed close to you through every breakdown because I understood the depth of what you were carrying. My beloved child, I know people hurt you in ways they never apologized for. I know some walked away when you needed them most. I know you gave your love, your loyalty, your kindness, and your energy to people who returned pain instead of peace. I saw how betrayal affected your ability to trust again. I saw how rejection slowly damaged the confidence you once had. There were moments when you questioned your own worth because others failed to recognize your value. But hear me now, people rejecting you never changed what I decided about you. Human disappointment never canceled heavenly purpose. Even when others overlooked you, I still called you chosen. There were financial battles that kept your mind restless. There were moments when you did not know how things would work out. You tried to stay calm on the outside while fear quietly grew inside you. You carried responsibilities that became heavier each month. You worried about the future. You worried about stability. You worried about whether life would always feel this difficult. But even during those moments, I was already making a way ahead of you. What looked like delay to you was often protection from paths that would have drained your peace even more deeply. I closed doors because I saw what was waiting behind them. I prevented certain opportunities because they would have pulled you away from the destiny I prepared for you. You thought heaven was silent because nothing changed immediately, but silence does not mean absence. While you cried, I was already arranging things beyond your understanding. While you questioned whether I heard you, I was already moving circumstances into place. There were people I removed because they could not go where I am taking you. There were environments I pulled you out of because they were poisoning your spirit slowly. There were delays I allowed because your heart needed healing before entering your next season. My child, if I showed you everything I protected you from, you would finally understand why certain prayers were not answered the way you expected. I know there were days when you almost gave up completely. Days when you stopped expecting good news because disappointment had become familiar. Days when you questioned whether your dreams were even realistic anymore. The pain became so normal that you started preparing yourself for more heartbreak instead of breakthrough. You lowered your expectations because you were afraid of being hurt again. You convinced yourself not to hope too much because waiting became emotionally exhausting. But my beloved child, I never asked you to carry your future alone. I never asked you to figure everything out before trusting me. I only asked you to keep walking with me one step at a time. There is something I need you to understand deeply right now. Your suffering never meant I stopped loving you. Your waiting season never meant you were forgotten. The enemy wanted you to interpret every painful moment as proof that I abandoned you, but the truth is completely different. I stayed beside you through every painful chapter because I knew this story would not end in defeat. I saw the version of you that would eventually rise from all this pain stronger, wiser, softer, and more spiritually grounded than before. What almost destroyed you was actually shaping you for the future I already planned. My child, the reason you survived seasons that should have broken you completely is because my hands never left your life. There were moments when you felt emotionally numb, yet somehow you still kept going. There were moments when your mind felt overwhelmed, yet somehow you still found strength to continue. That strength did not come from you alone. That was me carrying you when your own strength was gone. You thought you were barely surviving, but heaven saw a warrior refusing to surrender. Heaven saw faith continuing to breathe even under pressure. Heaven saw a child of God who kept crying, kept praying, and kept believing even while wounded. And now listen carefully because this is the part your spirit needs most. The tears are not going to define your future anymore. The pain is not permanent. The delay is not permanent. The loneliness is not permanent. I know it felt endless while you were living through it, but this chapter is changing now. You are not standing at the edge of another disappointment. You are standing at the edge of answered prayers. Everything you cried about in secret, I already carried into the spiritual realm before the answer appeared physically in your life. That is why I need you to stop speaking hopelessness over your future. The season is shifting even if you cannot fully see it yet. You are about to understand why the enemy fought your mind so aggressively. He was terrified of the moment you would finally realize I never abandoned you. He was terrified of the day your faith would rise stronger than your fear. He was terrified of the breakthrough waiting on the other side of your endurance. But my beloved child, that moment is here now. You survived the nights that were supposed to destroy you. You survived the betrayal that was supposed to harden your heart forever. You survived the pressure that was supposed to silence your prayers. And now you are entering a season where peace will slowly replace the pain you carried for far too long. So lift your head again. Breathe again. Hope again. Trust me again. I know you are tired, but you are not alone. I know you still carry scars, but scars are proof that wounds healed instead of killing you. I know your heart still has questions, but soon you will begin seeing answers appear in places you least expected. Before you ever cried out for help, I'd already moved on your behalf. Before your tears reached the floor, I'd already began preparing your breakthrough. And now, my child, the season of carrying this pain alone is coming to an end because I am about to reveal just how closely I was holding you through it all. My beloved child, the wait was never wasted. I know there were moments when it felt meaningless. I know there were nights when you looked back over the years and wondered why your prayers seemed delayed while others move ahead so quickly. I know you questioned why life became so heavy for you while everybody around you appeared to receive answers with ease. There were moments when disappointment became so familiar that you stopped expecting good things to happen anymore. But I need you to listen carefully now, because what felt like delay to you was actually preparation under my hand. You kept asking me why certain doors would almost open and then suddenly close again. You kept wondering why relationships failed after you invested your heart into them. You questioned why opportunities slipped away just when you thought things were finally changing. You even questioned your own worth because waiting has a way of making people feel forgotten. But my child, I was never withholding blessings from you to hurt you. I was protecting your future while preparing your spirit. There were things inside you that still needed healing before you could carry what you prayed for without destroying yourself under the weight of it. If I had answered certain prayers too early, you would have entered your next season emotionally broken and spiritually exhausted. You wanted the blessing immediately, but I could see the pain still controlling parts of your heart. I could see the fear hiding beneath your confidence. I could see the insecurity that caused you to depend too heavily on human approval. I could see the wounds from past betrayals still shaping the way you viewed yourself. And because I love you deeply, I refused to release certain things before you were ready to receive them in peace. Say amen. I'm restored and renewed if you felt his healing touch. My beloved child, there is a difference between receiving a blessing and being prepared to sustain it. You kept asking me for open doors while still carrying the mindset of survival. You kept praying for increase while secretly believing you were not worthy of abundance. You asked for peace while still allowing fear to control your thoughts every day. So I slowed certain things down because I needed to rebuild your inner life before changing your outer circumstances. The blessing you prayed for was not delayed because I ignored you. It was delayed because I loved you too much to give you something that would collapse under the weight of unhealed pain. You do not fully realize how much changed inside you during this waiting season. The version of you from years ago would not have survived what you can handle now. Back then, disappointment would have completely destroyed your confidence. Rejection would have convinced you to quit. Delays would have caused you to walk away from your faith entirely. But now look at you. You survived heartbreak and still learned how to love again. You survived betrayal and still kept kindness in your spirit. You survived loneliness and still kept searching for my presence. You survived uncertainty and still kept praying through the tears. That growth did not happen overnight. It happened during the very waiting season you almost hated. My child, Waiting seasons are painful because they force you to confront the parts of yourself you normally avoid. When distractions disappeared, you had no choice but to face your fears. When people walked away, you had no choice but to discover who you really were without their validation. When doors stayed closed, you had no choice but to learn how to trust me without visible proof. And although those lessons hurt deeply while you were living through them, they were preparing your spirit for a level of maturity you could not have reached any other way. There were moments when you begged me to remove the pressure immediately. You asked me why everything felt so emotionally exhausting. You asked me why the answers took so long to appear. But my beloved child, pressure was shaping strength inside you that comfort never could. The loneliness taught you how to seek me deeply instead of depending completely on people. The disappointments taught you that your identity cannot be built on temporary things. The silence taught you how to trust my heart even when you could not trace my hand. Every painful moment carried purpose even when you could not understand it at the time. You compared your life to others so many times during this season. You watched people around you receive opportunities, relationships, promotions, and blessings while your own life felt paused. And slowly comparison started poisoning your peace. You began questioning whether I loved others more than you. You wondered if maybe you missed your chance somehow. But listen to me carefully now. Your journey was never meant to look like theirs. I created your path specifically for your purpose. What would have worked for someone else may have completely damaged your destiny. Stop measuring your life by timelines that were never assigned to you. My child, some of the things you cried over losing were actually things that could not follow you into your future. I know you thought certain people would stay forever. I know you believed certain opportunities were absolutely necessary for your happiness. But I removed some things because they were slowly draining your spirit. I closed some doors because they would have delayed your true purpose. I allowed separation because attachment to the wrong people was weakening your ability to hear my voice clearly. What felt like rejection was often redirection toward something far better than what you originally imagined. You keep looking at the waiting season as proof that nothing was happening, but heaven was extremely active during your silence. While you were praying for immediate answers, I was building stability underneath your future. While you cried over delays, I was protecting you from things you were not spiritually prepared to handle yet. While you doubted yourself, I was slowly rebuilding your confidence from the inside out. You thought you were falling apart, but in reality, I was removing false foundations that could not support the future I planned for you. My beloved child, there were certain habits, fears, emotional wounds, and unhealthy attachments that had to break before your next season could safely begin. If I had opened every door when you first asked, you would have carried insecurity into places designed for peace. You would have entered opportunities while still emotionally dependent on the opinions of others. You would have stepped into blessings while secretly believing you were undeserving of them. I needed to teach you how to stand firmly in your identity before placing greater responsibility into your hands. And even though the process felt painful, look at what grew inside you because of it. Your discernment became stronger. Your prayers became deeper. Your spirit became more sensitive to my voice. Your heart became softer toward others who suffer. You learned how to survive difficult seasons without completely losing yourself. You learned how to keep moving even when life did not make sense. You learned how to seek me not only for miracles but for daily strength. That growth is valuable beyond what you currently understand. My child, I know you sometimes feel tired of hearing about timing because pain makes waiting emotionally exhausting. But hear me carefully now. My timing is not punishment. My timing is protection. I see the entire path while you only see the current moment. I know exactly when certain doors must open for your peace, your growth, and your purpose to align correctly. And nothing about your future has been forgotten. Nothing about your destiny has been canceled. What I promised still stands exactly as I spoke it. The enemy tried to convince you that delay meant denial because he knew discouragement weakens faith. He wanted you emotionally drained. He wanted you convinced that nothing would ever change. He wanted you to stop expecting goodness from me. But my beloved child, if I truly intended to abandon you, I would not still be speaking hope into your spirit right now. The fact that you are still listening to my voice means your story is still unfolding. Heaven is not finished with you. I know you wanted answers sooner. I know you wanted relief faster. I know you wish certain seasons ended years ago. But one day you will look back at this waiting period and realize it saved you from becoming someone you were never meant to be. You will understand why I slowed certain things down. You will understand why some people disappeared. You will understand why some doors stayed closed despite your tears. And when that understanding finally reaches your heart, you will no longer call this season wasted. You will call it preparation for the life I always intended you to walk into. So stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop acting as though heaven forgot your prayers. Stop believing the lie that your waiting season was meaningless. I was working in every silent moment. I was strengthening you in every painful lesson. I was shaping your spirit in every delayed answer. And now the season is changing. What you learn through the waiting will soon become the strength that carries you into the breakthrough you cried for all along. The wait was never wasted, my child. It was holy preparation under my loving hands. My beloved child, while you were breaking, I was building. While you thought everything around you was falling apart, heaven was quietly arranging pieces of your future in ways your human eyes could not yet understand. I know there were moments when your life felt completely unstable. You looked around and saw confusion, delay, rejection, and emotional exhaustion. You thought things were collapsing because I abandoned you. But the truth is far deeper than what you could see at the time. I was removing what could no longer remain so I could establish something stronger in its place. You kept asking me why life suddenly became so uncomfortable. You wondered why familiar things no longer brought peace. You questioned why people began acting differently toward you. Opportunities changed. Your desires even started changing inside you. What once satisfied you began feeling empty. What once distracted you stopped working. And deep inside your spirit you could feel something moving, but you could not fully explain it. My child, that was not destruction. That was transformation beginning inside your life. There are seasons where I bless openly, and there are seasons where I build quietly. You were in a building season. You kept praying for visible miracles while I was working on invisible foundations. Because what I am bringing into your future cannot stand on weak foundations built from fear, insecurity, emotional dependency, and exhaustion. I needed to strengthen what nobody else could see. I needed to heal the inner places where old pain still lived silently. I needed to rebuild your confidence so it would no longer depend on temporary human approval. I needed to prepare your spirit to carry greater peace without collapsing every time life became difficult. My beloved child, Heaven was never inactive during your silence. Angels were moving on your behalf while you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if anything would ever change. There were spiritual battles happening around your life that you never fully saw. The enemy was fighting aggressively because he sensed your breakthrough approaching long before you did. He wanted confusion to overwhelm your thinking. He wanted hopelessness to drain your strength. He wanted delays to make you believe that your future was empty. But every attack against your life was being answered by my hand protecting you, even when you did not realize it. There were moments when certain plans suddenly failed, and you thought your future was ruined. You cried over closed doors because you assumed they were your only chance. But my child, many of those closed doors were acts of mercy. I blocked paths that looked good temporarily but would have destroyed your peace later. I prevented certain relationships from continuing because they would have delayed your spiritual growth. I removed certain people because their presence in your life was becoming spiritually dangerous. What looked painful at the time was often protection hidden behind disappointment. You do not realize how many times I stepped between you and destruction. There were conversations happening about you that I silenced before they could damage your future. There were traps prepared against you that I exposed before they fully formed. There were opportunities that looked exciting but secretly carried emotional chaos that would have exhausted your soul even further. You cried because certain things left your life, but if you could see what I saved you from, gratitude would replace your grief completely. My child, while you were doubting yourself, I was preparing places where your name would eventually be honored. While you questioned your value, I was opening hearts that would one day recognize the gifts I placed inside you. While you sat in loneliness believing nobody cared, I was arranging divine connections you have not even met yet. Nothing about your future has been random. Every painful chapter has been shaping the strength, wisdom, and discernment necessary for where I am taking you next. There were nights when you felt emotionally shattered because life stopped looking the way you imagined. You thought your dreams were dying. You thought the silence meant failure. But heaven often builds in hidden places before revealing anything publicly. Seeds grow underground before anybody sees evidence of life. Foundations are built beneath the surface before buildings rise into view. And my child, that is exactly what was happening in your life. I was building roots deep enough to sustain the blessings you are about to receive. The enemy tried to convince you that your breaking meant defeat, but your breaking was actually exposing the places where healing needed to happen. You carried wounds from rejection longer than you realized. You carried fear from old disappointments deeper than you admitted. You carried insecurity from seasons where people failed to value you correctly. And although you learned how to hide those wounds from others, I still saw them clearly. I knew those hidden pains would eventually interfere with your future if they remained unhealed. So I allowed certain seasons of pressure to bring hidden wounds to the surface where my healing could finally reach them fully. My beloved child, I know the process felt lonely. Growth often feels lonely because not everybody understands what heaven is doing inside you. Some people only recognize visible success, but they do not understand spiritual preparation. They cannot see the internal rebuilding happening beneath your silence. They cannot see the strength forming every time you choose faith instead of bitterness. They cannot see the maturity developing every time you continue trusting me despite disappointment. But heaven sees it all clearly. There were moments when you almost returned to old habits simply because waiting became emotionally exhausting. You almost settled for less because uncertainty made you tired. You almost lowered your standards because loneliness whispered lies into your spirit. But I kept pulling you back because your future is too important to sacrifice for temporary comfort. I would rather let you experience temporary loneliness than allow you to remain connected to environments and people that slowly poison your purpose. My child, what you called falling apart was often me removing false versions of yourself that could not survive your next season. I was tearing down fear-based thinking. I was breaking unhealthy emotional dependence. I was exposing hidden insecurities. I was teaching you how to stand firmly in your identity even when external circumstances looked uncertain. Because where I am taking you next requires stability rooted in me, not stability rooted in human validation. You cried because things changed unexpectedly. But change became necessary because staying the same would have kept you trapped in cycles you were meant to outgrow. You prayed for elevation, while still emotionally attached to environments that were draining your spirit. You asked for peace while entertaining relationships that constantly produced confusion. You prayed for breakthrough while secretly remaining afraid of becoming the person I called you to be. So I allowed shaking because shaking reveals what cannot remain in your future. My beloved child, even now there are things happening around your life that you cannot fully see yet. People are being positioned. Opportunities are being prepared. Delayed answers are beginning to move. The heaviness that followed you for so long is slowly losing its hold because the season is shifting. You may not see the full picture yet, but spiritually, the atmosphere around your life is already changing. The breakthrough did not begin the moment you noticed movement. It began long ago while you were still crying and questioning whether heaven heard you at all. That is why I need you to stop calling yourself forgotten. Stop speaking as though your story ends in defeat. Stop assuming silence means abandonment. Heaven has been active around your life this entire time. I have been building strength inside you while preparing blessings outside you. I have been healing wounds inside you while arranging opportunities ahead of you. I have been protecting your future while teaching your spirit how to trust me more deeply. One day you will look back at this painful season and realize that what felt like breaking was actually rebuilding. You will understand why certain people disappeared. You will understand why some prayers took longer than expected. You will understand why certain doors closed despite your tears. And when that understanding finally reaches your heart, you will no longer mourn what left your life. You will thank me for refusing to let temporary comfort destroy your eternal purpose. So breathe again, my beloved child. The silence was never empty. The delay was never meaningless. The breaking was never punishment. While you cried, I built foundations. While you doubted, I prepared doors. While you waited, I strengthened your spirit. And now you are stepping closer to the moment where everything hidden will finally begin revealing why this entire season had to happen exactly the way it did. Comment Amen. I step forward in faith if you're moving where He calls. And share this video.